On the topic of Ohio players, I believe this is a quote from you guys have talked, or maybe some writer said it, but it was your most collaborative album. And I was curious what led to that. Is that also, could you say it's the most secure you've ever been to just trust collaborators?
It took us until this point to really be able to feel comfortable with ourselves, to get into a room and to be able to really collaborate.
Hey, it is Kevin Kenny, and we are here from the Hard Rock Hotel, New York, for a brand new Audacy check-in with our special guest, the Black Keys.
What's up?
What's going on, guys? We are here to talk about not only just the album that is coming out April 5th, Ohio Players, but also, I think from here, we were just saying you guys are headed straight to Austin, Texas for South by. It's going to be your first trip there. You were just telling me, Pat, in like 14 years, and it's for the documentary that's coming out.
Yeah, we got a documentary coming out called This Is a Film about the Black Keys, and we're going down there for the premiere, and then we're also hanging around to we're going to do a couple sets that are we're going to headline, but we're bringing a bunch of Dan's artists that are on his label Easy Eye, so it's going to be fun. We're going to be busy all week.
And does that feel like, at the risk of sounding cliche, does that feel like a full circle moment for you guys, especially bringing artists of your own down there?
It's definitely different than it was 14 years ago, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are a band that gets like, it finds it nerve-wracking to make a body work, and then, you know, on album release day, or just knowing the album is out for people to consume, if that's nerve-wracking to you. But how do the emotions of, you know, the public hearing a body of work as in an album versus a documentary about your lives and your career compare?
I mean, we don't know how the documentary is going to feel for people to see it. You know what I mean? I know that we've watched it enough that we can't watch it again. Cause it's already hard enough. Like, I'll never be able to listen back to this interview, but watching a film about you and your buddy is equally as hard. But as far as the album goes, like, I always find it exciting, and we both kind of gravitate to like the most diabolical hater comment, like, and we just send them to each other. Like, look at this guy.
You just motivated like a nation of trolls, I think, with that comment.
Well,
with that insight.
That's what the internet is.
Right. On the topic of Ohio players, I believe this is a quote from you guys have talked, or maybe some writer said it, but it was your most collaborative album. And I was curious what led to that. Is that also, could you say it's the most secure you've ever been to just trust collaborators, or what led to it?
I think it was, it took us until this point to really be able to feel comfortable with ourselves, to get into a room and to be able to really collaborate. I think when we started, we were just kind of insecure. That was part of it. The other part was there was no one around us, really. There were very few musicians that were interested in the same thing. But now that we, you know, have gotten to this place, it's like we reached out to a couple people on the last album. Some friends of ours, Greg Cartwright from the Oblivions, and our friend Angelo. And it went so well that we just decided to look into the Rolodex a little deeper. And the first person we thought of was Beck. And we invited him to the studio with us. And the very first day we cut This Is Nowhere. And did that sort of
dictate?
That just set it going. So it was like a gradual, it took us 20 years to get to the point where we could really collaborate, truly.
How did, you know, obviously like a casual fan of the Black Keys that might not know that you worked with RZA in the past, and, you know, you guys have probably been fans of hip hop your entire lives. How did Juicy J come about? Yeah, we've been lifelong hip hop fans. We grew up in the era where hip hop was, you know, top of the pops in America. They played the Ghetto Boys at our middle school dance. You know what I mean? It's like a part of us. And, you know, we did do that Black Rock album with, we worked with Damon Dash, and did that collaborative album, which was really amazing and influenced us hugely, especially going into Brothers, which we did right after that, you know. But over the last year, while we were making the record, I was really getting heavily into Memphis underground rap, the stuff that's really only on YouTube, fan uploaded on cassette. You know, it was only sold on cassette. And it was old school stuff?
Old school, like 90s. It's like, basically it's like trap before trap. It like influenced Gucci and Migos. It's like that's very slow tempos. And I just got really heavily into it. And Juicy J was a big part of that. 3 6 Mafia is a big part of that. Lil Noid, who Juicy J found when he was 16, was a big part of that. Tommy Wright III, I was listening to. We actually contacted Tommy Wright III to work with him on this album. We didn't get it together in time, but we did get Noid. Like into the studio with us. He was just down the street in Memphis, and he drove up, and we played him a track, and instantly we just started collaborating, and it was really fun, and it didn't feel weird. You know what I mean? Because we'd sort of been there before. There was no other part like that on the album, but for some reason it made sense to us. But after we got Noid on the track, we thought maybe we should have one other section like that on the album. Maybe one would be a little too weird, but if there were a couple, it might make a little more sense. So we contacted Juicy J, and we sent him the track, and he sent it right back like 2 days later, and there was record scratching on the front, which is not something that we would ever have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, that collaborative process, kind of like Pat said, things can happen that, you know, you would never even think about doing, you know?
Totally. And then was Alice Cooper ever involved? I read that online.
Yeah, we did. See, for this album, we made a lot of songs. We finished maybe 29. We made a decision to hold a couple of the songs back because, like, that Alice Cooper song is called "Stay in Your Grave." We wrote it with Greg Cartwright, and it's just kind of like a perfect Halloween song.
Yeah, there's a character in it who's essentially the devil.
So,
and we're like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if we get Alice Cooper to do this to voice this character?
So I think we're gonna hold it. So we're gonna hold it like till closer to, you know, the witching season.
Yeah,
the season of the witch.
So we'll probably see the Let It
Absolutely.
Day. Yeah, you'll hear it this year.
Very
this
cool.
Year.
I've been loving the rollout that you guys have been doing in terms of these videos. I mean, you again, like kind of the hip hop angle too. You guys have a long history with hip hop, and people may not realize it. Same thing with comedy, right? Like Workaholics and the Masterclass spoof was hilarious.
Yeah, the first time we could ever afford to make a music video, we hired David Cross to direct it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And is it true that you hired Odenkirk to do Lonely Boy, and then you just didn't even use him in the video?
He did the promos for it.
Right.
He did.
But
we shot a whole video where he was basically dressed up in the suit from Better Call Saul.
Yeah, before that was a show.
But we decided not to use a video because that one shot of Derek Tuggle dancing was just so iconic.
Yeah.
Did Bob ever go like, why wasn't I in the video? Or do you not care?
I mean, I'm sure he hated it, but that probably happens all the time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
The video, it wasn't his fault. The video was just confused. It was confusing plot. But, you know, it's like it's not the first time that we spent $80,000 to use something we could have made for $500. We've probably blown like $500,000 on stuff we could have made for a total of like $1,500. But that's Hollywood, baby.
Is there like a number one biggest waste of money in the Black Keys career?
There's a lot, dude. Just the money just gets sucked out of your pocket. The minute you trust someone to do something else for you, and then you realize it's like slightly off and.
Should have just done it yourself.
Well, we can't do it ourselves, but
right.
You know, but you know, the overarching thing here is that usually the more simple idea usually wins. You know, the more complex you make it, that, you know, there's more room to fail.
Yeah. To the idea of streaming, I was just curious, how do you feel about it today in terms of just as artists?
Streaming, I mean, it's unavoidable. I still don't think it's structured correctly as far as the way it compensates labels and artists. But it's undeniable. I use it all the time. Dan uses it all the time. Do you think it's just do you have any thoughts? Like, is there a better way to do it in terms of just music overall? I'm just curious. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a clear, simple way to do it, and it seems obvious to me, but it's just to try to explain it simply. Bring out the chalkboard. Yeah. I'll try to explain it very simply. You know, when you sign a record deal, you sign to like a label, and ultimately the structure used to be there's a record store that would take usually a small percentage, 20% of the retail of the record. And then there's a distributor who would take 30%, and then the label and the artist would take the rest. So it's like, even if you structure it as like Spotify's the distributor and the record store, if they take 50% of your $10 monthly fee, then $5 should be taken and equally distributed to whatever you streamed that month, not put in some pile and randomly distributed. towards the total number of streams. So if you're a listener and you listen to obscure indie rock and you listen to 100 songs last month, your $5 should be equally distributed to those songs. And what would happen is the artists who are, less popular, your money would be worth so much more as a listener. And so you start compensating, and you'd start doing what doesn't exist right now, which is smaller artists would start getting rewarded much more heavily by their small audience. And it just seems like no brainer, fair is fair. If that were to happen, streaming would be amazing.
So we were here with Jack Antonoff yesterday, and he was talking about Lana's new album. And you produced Ultraviolence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that experience like?
It was great. Really fun. I mean, I had Lana to the studio in Nashville, to Easy Eye, and I had different players that I'd flown in from all over the place. Drummers from Germany, and like people from New York and LA and North Carolina, just all over the place. And it was fun. She had great songs, and we spent the week recording. It was really amazing.
Cool. Well, guys, thanks so much. And of course, if you're watching right now, the new album, Ohio Players, is out, and enjoy it. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.